In the darkest corners of history, where the shadows of war stretch long and terrifying, we often look for heroes in uniform, for seasoned leaders making impossible decisions. But what if I told you that some of the greatest acts of courage came from those who hadn't even lived a full life yet? What if the hero was just a boy, no older than 14? Today, we're stepping back into the chilling reality of World War II. Not to recount the grand battles, but to uncover a story of quiet, astonishing bravery. This is the story of Jan, a boy who held the lives of soldiers in his small hands, guiding them through a forest that was both his playground and a deadly trap. Imagine being 14. Your world should be about school, friends, maybe a first crush. For Jan, his world had shrunk to the suffocating confines of occupation. The familiar woods behind his home, once a place of adventure, had become a maze of danger patrolled by enemy soldiers. Every rustle of leaves could mean capture, every snapped twig a final breath. But within this landscape of fear, a whisper of hope began to circulate among the Allied forces trapped behind enemy lines. A rumor of a local guide who knew the forest like the back of his hand, someone who could lead them through the treacherous paths to safety. That guide was Jan. It's hard to fathom the weight on his young shoulders. This wasn't a game. One wrong turn, one moment of hesitation, could doom not only himself, but the men who trusted him with their lives. These weren't just soldiers. They were fathers, sons, and husbands, each carrying their own stories, their own hopes of returning home. They looked at this boy, barely a teenager, and placed their entire future in his care. Jan had to navigate by instinct, by the memory of every ancient tree and hidden creek bed he'd known since he was a child. The sun, the stars, the direction of the moss on the trees, these were his compass and his map. Think about the psychological pressure. He had to be invisible, silent. He had to teach grown men, battle-hardened soldiers, how to move like ghosts in his forest. He'd signal with a bird call they had prearranged, or a simple hand gesture that meant freeze or get down. He learned to read the forest's language, the sudden silence of the birds that signaled a nearby patrol, the unnatural crack of a branch under a heavy boot that wasn't one of their own. His senses were on high alert, every nerve ending tingling with the constant, humming threat of discovery. He was a child forced to adopt the cunning and caution of a seasoned veteran. One night, the story goes, they were moving a small group of downed airmen. A sudden snowstorm descended, blanketing the forest in a disorienting white. The paths vanished. Landmarks disappeared. The cold was a physical enemy, biting at their exposed skin, threatening to sap their strength and will. The soldiers, strangers to this land, were lost. Panic began to set in. But Jan remained calm. He wasn't just guiding them through the geography of the forest. He was guiding them through their own fear. He used his knowledge of the terrain, remembering a sheltered rock formation, a small overhang where they could take refuge from the worst of the storm. He shared his meager rations, his quiet confidence a lifeline in the blizzard. In that small, frozen shelter, they weren't just a guide and his charges. They were a small band of humans fighting for survival. The soldiers saw not a boy, but a leader. They saw a resilience that defied his age. Jan didn't carry a rifle, he didn't command a platoon, but his courage was as potent as any weapon. He fought his war with knowledge, with instinct, and with a heart that refused to let fear win. He knew the cost of failure. He had seen what the occupiers did to those who helped their enemies. His family, his village, everyone was at risk because of his secret missions. Yet, he continued, night after night. Why? Why would a child take such an incredible risk? It wasn't for glory or recognition. There were no medals waiting for him. He did it because, in a world that had been turned upside down by hatred and violence, it was the right thing to do. It was a simple, profound act of defiance. It was his way of fighting back, of saying that even in the deepest darkness, a small light of humanity could still shine. His contribution was a quiet rebellion, fought in the whispers of the wind and the shadows of the pines. As the war progressed, Jan's reputation grew in the covert circles of the resistance. He successfully guided dozens, perhaps even hundreds, of men to freedom. Each successful journey was a victory, a life saved, a family that might one day be reunited. Each trip chipped away at the enemy's hold, a small but significant act of sabotage against their war machine. He became a legend, a ghost of the forest whispered about by grateful soldiers who owed him their lives. Many of them never even knew his full name, only that a brave boy had led them out of hell. After the war, the world moved on, eager to forget the horrors and rebuild. Stories like Jan's often faded into the background, overshadowed by the grand narratives of battles and generals. The unsung heroes, especially the children whose innocence was stolen by the conflict, were frequently overlooked. Jan, like so many others, likely returned to a life of quiet anonymity. The incredible weight of his wartime experiences, a secret held close to his heart. How does a person, who was a hero at 14, go back to being a normal boy? The truth is, they never really do. They carry the forest, the fear, and the faces of the men they saved with them forever. Jan's story is a powerful reminder that heroism isn't defined by age, strength, or status. It's defined by choice. The choice to act when others are paralyzed by fear. The choice to help a stranger at great personal risk. It's about the resilience of the human spirit and the incredible capacity for courage that can be found in the most unexpected of places, even in the heart of a child. We must remember these stories, not just to honor the past, but to inspire our present. To remind ourselves that one person, no matter how small, can make a world of difference. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the human side of history. The courage of children like Jan deserves to be remembered and shared. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more untold stories of bravery and resilience. Let us know in the comments what you think about these incredible child heroes. Until next time, stay curious and never forget the quiet heroes among us.